Welcome to Module 3 or Part 3 of my Rhythm to Lead Transition course for guitar. And if you don't know who I am, my name is Theo and I help guitar players achieve their goals. Now, if this is the first video that you see of me, again, just go back to the other ones and watch the first and the second modules, or watch some other video, like some other course here from the beginning, because you will have to know, you have to be prepared with some prerequisites in order to get what we're talking about. So, first, we already talked about the rhythm playing, like the hard riffs, and we already talked about the easy solos. But going from the easy solos to like the hard solos is not something that is so natural to most people. So instead of that, here I want to speak about two weird licks that aren't actually licks, they are rhythm parts, but if I hadn't told you that they are rhythm parts, you would actually consider them lead parts. So I'm not talking about licks that will help you go from easy solos to like licks and then the hard solos as I mentioned for the roadmap, but here I want to talk about strengthening the basics, like for example, strengthening your legato, bettering, like improving your hand synchronization, making sure that you can handle some hard position shifts. This is what I'm talking about. Now, the licks are in the next video. So here we'll talk about the two rhythm parts, and the first one is gonna be Poison Was the Cure by Megadeth. So this lick is great because it helps you get used to playing only with legato, like mainly with legato when you play more than one note per string. For example, if you, let's say that you're learning some hard Dream Theater solo and there's a lot of legato, but there's also position shifts and there's also stretching and all of this stuff, well, you would already have to think about the, like which frets you're gonna play, which notes you're gonna play, when you're gonna transition to the next position, like when you're gonna do the position shift. So the legato has to be almost like automatic. So in order to make it automatic, well, we'll have to learn some licks or riffs like this one. So really do take the time to learn how to play more than one note per string only with legato. So of course, when you only play one note per string, you're gonna pick that, but when you play more than one, you're gonna only pick the first note and then the other ones you play with legato. However, this is most of the time. Like the final three notes of the lick that would go 7, 6, 5 on the fifth string, you will play them with picking. So this is really cool that you would have to stretch, not stretch, but alternate between legato and some rhythm patterns, like just alternate picking, but the transition from legato to just straight picking like staccato is really hard for some people, so this will help you also with that transition. Now, I didn't mention stretching on purpose, but it's actually good that I mentioned it by accident. So the other hard thing that this lick will help you get used to is the stretching, and particularly like the last three notes of the other variation of the lick that you would have to go like on the third string, and you go 5, 2, 0. So how I would play it is I would use my pinky for the 5th fret, because otherwise some people, yeah, they really do stretch, and they, of course, mostly everyone can do this with the third finger, like the ring finger, but let's say that you're playing here on the 12th fret and you have to play the 19th fret. Most of the times, even when playing standing up, you won't be able to just stretch so much that you're gonna use only your third finger, plus you have one more finger, so why not make yourself a better guitar player? I use my pinky here for the 5th fret in order not to leave any weak spots. And of course, I'm not gonna explain stuff like, yeah, put your third finger on the 2nd fret of the 3rd string. I really don't think you need that, but just for this particular example, really do use the pinky in order to strengthen it. This module is called Strengthening the Basics, and of course, finger independence is one of the basics. It is one of the fundamentals. So let's now go to the next lick, but actually before that, just know that you could get the tabs, PDF explanations, and of course quite a few more courses like this one if you just sign up for my Discord server. Just DM me Discord, like the word Discord, on Instagram, and I'll add you in. The next lick is from Fast Loud Death by Lost Society. And if you don't know them, their first two albums are pure thrash metal. I really like them. Their new thrash metal band from Lost Society, or at least they were thrash metal, now they're something else. But the first two albums are really great. So the lick is the first one, like right after the beginning, this is what you hear, like right after you just play the song, like you press play, this is what you hear. And it's a legato lick again, but the hard thing here is not so much the stretches, it's rather the precision, because you will have to do some position shifts on the second bar, and then you have to slide up to the 7th fret, and I don't want you to just skip the basics, skip the fundamentals, and slide up to the 8th fret and then go one back because you forgot to practice it properly, right? This is not what we are aiming for here. Take your time, use the metronome, and be very precise with the position shifts, because this is very important. And even though this is the hardest thing when it comes to fretting hand and in lead guitar, some people do skip that, and you can dominate them, like you can be so much better than them if you just practice those. Also, be careful with which notes you play with legato and which notes you pick, because of course, as I said previously, as we mentioned, staccato, like just picking every note, has a different sound than just picking the first note and playing the other ones with legato. So in order to make sure you don't use shortcuts and you sound like the original, make sure that you know which notes are played with legato and which notes you have to pick. One final detail about the lick is notice how some notes are longer than the other ones. Like the 3 final notes are in a triplet and they are longer than the other ones. And why would this actually make sense in a lead guitar context? Well, this is used, like some longer notes, emphasizing some notes longer than other ones, is used in order to make sure that we emphasize the underlying chord. Like let's say the backing track or the rhythm guitar player is playing G major chord. Well, when playing a solo over that, we might decide to stop here, for example, on a G note in order to emphasize the underlying chord and almost like harmonize and show that we know what's happening under the solo. And this way the solo and the whole song in general just become more rememberable, and the people actually know what's gonna be played because they do remember from the last time that they listened to you. It's not just like, yeah, wow, how cool, and then forget what you played after 30 seconds of the song having come to an end. So this is really an exercise that you would have to get used to, playing some notes longer than other ones. As always, take as much time as you need to in order to master, like play both of the licks, the Poison Was the Cure and the Fast Loud Death lick, as perfectly as possible, like even as close as the original as possible. So you really listen to the original and try to do the same thing. Also play it with the original. Take as much time as you need to do that, and then when you're ready, come to the next module where we were gonna talk about some licks. See you there.